This hive was so dangerous, 3 other beekeepers refused to touch it. I feel like this is one of those jobs you only get every so often. When I got the call from the property manager, I was intrigued when she told me 3 other beekeepers looked at this job and turned it down. When I saw it with my own eyes, a massive bee colony, 30 feet up and hidden in a tight corner, I knew I had to take the chance. I feel like this video doesn't do it justice. Believe me when I tell you it's one of the biggest I have ever seen. When I saw the glass windows, I knew I needed to get inside of the office that had the best view. That's when I met Adam.
My name's Adam with Delta Financial, and I have my own little colony, and it's a little bit like a fishbowl up here on the third floor.
Just a small little
A
colony.
small little colony right outside the office on the third floor.
Just a little bit. Oh my gosh. Well, we are now going to take your observation hive away.
I'm a little bit sad about that.
But they're going to a good place.
As long as I get to eat the honey.
We'll save you some honey, I promise.
The beehive served as an observation hive for years, entertaining the financial company's employees. Because no other beekeeper could help them remove this colony, they tried many other creative ways throughout the years. My favorite story was when a maintenance man on a ladder using a pressure washer tried to blast them off of the wall. He told me he was able to remove 3 to 4 feet of comb from the bottom of the beehive, but luckily the queen was able to rise to the top and hide from the water blasting. The bees managed to behave until recently when a woman on her smoke break by the parking lot was stung by an angry bee. Now, in my experience, when a beehive is 30 to 40 feet up and out of the way, usually they are not a threat. So there is a small part of me that wonders, was this an accidental sting or defensive sting? I'm leaning more towards accidental. Unfortunately, for liability reasons, the bees had to be removed after that incident, permanently. They decided to try one more time to remove the colony ethically. That's when they found me. I work with a local arborist who is one of the best in our area. He has a couple high-quality lifts that can reach in tight spaces. My arborist believed that his lift would fit right inside of the location. I was thrilled to hear his optimism. He set the lift up for me in the perfect position, so I would just have to raise up and then boom out and slide right into the location. When I finally reached the beehive, I was devastated that the small lift would not slide in like we hoped. I was only needing a few more feet to be right next to this colony. Unfortunately, I cannot get this lift any closer to the beehive, so sadly we are going to have to drop the comb. We'll have to let the comb fall to the ground because I don't have any other way of getting closer to it. I had to make the tough decision to let the beehive drop 30 feet down. I had a hard time getting started because honestly, I felt awful destroying their masterpiece. They worked so hard collecting nectar to build this incredible beehive, and now I'm going to just knock it to the ground. I came prepared just in case this happened. I brought a scraper attached to an extension pole. Because of the small space I was working in and the lift was rocking back and forth from the wind, I had a hard time positioning the camera so I could get a clear shot of the removal to show you. The colony was older and that made the comb very hard to scrape from the top. I had to use a lot of strength to knock it down. I set up a rope system so I could lower tools in the bucket without needing to bring the lift down. This worked well, and I even lowered a bucket full of bees and their brood. Using a bee vac was the safest choice for this removal. Hanging a bee box to catch the foragers was not an option. The vacuum allowed me to remove all of the bees from the comb, and then I was able to drop the honey down to the ground. The honeycomb pieces were extremely heavy and hit some of the windows on the way down, making me wonder if the sheer weight of the honey could actually break a window. Once I got to the brood, I was able to lean over the railing and grab the bottom of the comb and pull it down safely. Luckily, I was able to save several large pieces of brood comb. Now that the lift didn't slide into the location like I had hoped, my new concern was finding the queen. I was hopeful she didn't fall with a piece of honeycomb. Just in case she did, I had Derek below keeping his eyes open for the queen while he strapped their brood comb. The queen bee is a terrible flyer, so if she did fall, she probably would drown in a pool of honey. It felt really satisfying scraping off the comb from the wall. However, I did feel bad for all the bees that were returning home full of nectar and pollen, only to realize that they are now homeless. I decided to stick around until they started clumping back up on the walls so I could make sure to get as many bees as possible. The vacuum sucked up 2 5-gallon buckets of honeybees, confirming that this was a massive colony. If I had to guess, the open-air beehive consisted of 60 to 70,000 bees and 50 pounds of glorious honey that sadly was a loss in the dirt. It always feels like a major disappointment when you don't find the queen. Even though a queen can be replaced, when I see a beautiful colony that is healthy, strong, and stores a lot of honey, I always hope to find the queen and continue on her genetics. Sadly, I left this removal without spotting her. Once we were back at the apiary, we dumped both 5-gallon buckets of bees into their bee box with the brood. I tried to search for the queen once the bees were dumped, but finding the queen in a mound of 60 to 70,000 bees is rather difficult. I let a week go by so the bees could get settled in, and I had Derek check the bee box. I almost didn't believe him when he told me that I got the queen.